This is Slow Food Live. My name is Giselle. If you're not familiar with Slow Food is an international grassroots organization. Our mission is good, clean, and fair food for all. The International Slow Food Network is an incredible and robust network of people all around the world doing the work of good, clean, and fair food for all. And obviously that means a lot of different things. There are many layers and many facets and many industries and many occupations and hobbies that covers. So today we're doing a session on saving seeds, which is something that you have asked for. So I'm especially excited to be hosting this session today. We've done some gardening sessions in the past few weeks with the help of our wonderful school garden committee. And something that came up was how to save your seeds. It's come up a few times. So we've got 3 experts online today, all friends of slow food and accomplished and wonderful people. We have Jeff Quattrone, who's the co-chair of the Slow Food USA Arc of Taste Committee in the Northeast, and also a member of the working group that covers Arc of Taste and seeds. And also the founder of the Library Seed Bank. I'm going to do a little glance over here so I don't miss anything. And he'll tell you, Jeff can tell you more about the Library Seed Bank and his history, and Sovereignty Gardens, which is a campaign to connect the public with food sovereignty rights in the garden. Hillie is the creator of One Seed, One Community, which she will tell you more about. It's an excellent initiative, and I think when you hear more about it, you might be inspired to look for this program in your own community, or maybe start one or connect with Hillie, and a longtime gardener and a garden educator in the San Francisco Bay Area. Hillie, you have taught animal husbandry and gardening to youth in 4-H for 10 years, which is awesome. And you are the treasurer of the Slow Food South Bay chapter. Ben Cohen is also with us. He is an author, herbalist, garden seed saver, and educator. Ben is the owner of Small House Farm and the founder of Michigan Seed Library, both of which I will, again, let him tell you a little more about, and recently authored a book that is called Saving Our Seeds. One thing I also want to mention is that I will follow up with all of you who are registered for this session with an email, and I'll put links to all of these great things and these great people and their projects and how you can connect with them and learn more about what they do after we're done here. So I'm going to turn it over to Jeff to tell us more about himself and his seed saving history and his involvement with Slow Food USA. And then Jeff will toss it over to Hillie and Ben to do the same. If you have questions and you're putting them in that box, that's great. We're going to get to those questions at the end of the session when we've wrapped the presentation. So thank you 3 for being here. We are super happy to have you and grateful for your time and for sharing your wisdom with us. And Jeff, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Hi, thanks Giselle, and thanks to everyone who's joining us. This is exciting to be here to talk to you about seed saving and to talk to you about slow food. I'm the co-chair of the Northeast Regional Committee for the Arc of Taste. It's a great project, and what we do is we work with local communities to identify foods that are threatened, endangered, or at risk for documentation, and so that we can load them on the Arc and that we could use that to connect the public and chefs to the local heirloom history, and hopefully encourage people to grow and save seeds and to eat these types of food. Talking more about the Arc of Taste in a few minutes. As far as seed saving goes, in 2014 I launched my Library Seed Bank project. I brought the concept of seed libraries to southern New Jersey where I live, and since that time I've had a great response. And I'll be talking more about how I connect the South Jersey agricultural history and seed history through seed libraries to the public. And just recently, I launched a Sovereignty Gardens campaign, which is about growing your food rights. So it's important, especially now with the pandemic, and you see exactly where we are with the food system and how fragile it can be, that people recognize that they have a right to food and that they can do that by, they can exercise that right by growing it in their garden. So, Hillie?
Hi, I'm Hillie Salo, and I'm a longtime gardener and garden educator in the South Bay area of San Francisco, also known as Silicon Valley. As my kids were younger, I worked with the 4-H teaching gardening and about chickens, which we have now. And I've been a UC a University of California Cooperative Extension Master Gardener now for 10 years, and working with them to teach the public about the mission of the Master Gardeners is to bring scientifically based research, horticultural information to the public. And since like 2013, I've been working to get seeds in the hands of people and get them to grow, helping our local seed libraries get off the ground, and also starting the One Seed, One Community to try and engage folks to save seeds. So, Ben?
Hi everyone, isn't this amazing to be able to come together in this virtual environment? It's pretty groovy. My name is Ben Cohen, and I'm the owner of Small House Farm, which is a sustainable living project in central Michigan. A few years ago, we founded the Michigan Seed Library Project, which is an umbrella organization that is home to, I think it's about 73 seed libraries now here in the state of Michigan. You know, we've always been firm believers of access to healthy and nutritious food. And through our homestead and education programs, we've been able to take that out to our community and even beyond to help people have access to that food. As a seed saver and as a seed salesman, we offer seeds retail through our website. We've seen just an amazing uptick in desire to get hands-on seeds to get out into the gardens, to the point of it's just amazing to see the desire to grow your own food. So to be able to come together like we are right now to talk about that and to help people learn how to save their seeds is a really exciting thing, to see everybody come together like this.
So,
Okay, so I'll start out by talking more about the Ark of Taste. The Ark of Taste is a living catalog of biodiversity, and it includes all types of foods. It's not just limited to vegetables or seafood or anything like that. It encompasses all types of food. And what we do is we work with local communities, and we want to identify foods that are threatened, endangered, or at risk of extinction. And how this happens is we have 6 regions in the United States, and each region has a committee that evaluates, that looks for nominations, and then we craft nominations, and then we evaluate them and we vote on them. And if they meet the criteria to be included in the catalog, they're entered as an entry into the catalog. This program is open to the public. We work with slow food chapters. If you go to the Slow Food website and the Slow Food USA website, and if you look for the region where you're located, there's an email address. And if you're interested in participating with us in doing that, please send us an email and we'll get back to you and we'll walk you through the process. It's a great project. If it wasn't for the Ark of Taste, I don't think I'd be an activist today. It was interesting to find, and eye-opening to find out the food can actually become extinct. Living in an agricultural area like South Jersey and having access to supermarkets, I've always growing my food. It didn't occur to me that food can go extinct, and I learned a lot about biodiversity through the Ark of Taste and the value of that. So, and to that, I just want to add that when you save seeds, you are saving biodiversity, and you're saving backyard biodiversity. So you have this power to collect this buffer that can be used to, you know, when a pandemic hits or when climate change hits, by having this collection of biodiversity that in your hand, you always have access to food, and you always have the power of nature to help you get through providing food for your family or your community. Hillie?
hi, I wanted to tell you about Slow Food USA's Plant a Seed campaign. And the Plant a Seed campaign invites gardeners to bring history, flavor, and diversity into their gardens. And every year they bring endangered and biodiverse seeds that tell a story that we can grow eat and share these seeds, and when we do, we keep them in production and we'll have them on our plates. It's a classic use it or lose it story. So this year's kit is quite colorful. It has the Cherokee purple tomato, the yellow cabbage collard, Jameo chili, the white Sonoran wheat, and the Jacob's cattle bean. Now these seeds have stories, fascinating stories that you can find on the Slow Food USA website on the Plant a Seed page. So for every kit that's purchased, Slow Food will send a kit to an educational garden so that our kids can continue learning about these flavors and how important biodiversity is for our world. And this year, we're going to extend Plant a Seed to Save a Seed and Share a Seed, which we invite you to join. So beans are very easy to grow and save. And this year we have the Jacob's cattle bean, and we invite you to grow and save that. Now, it's mostly been grown in the Northeast, and it has a story that tells about Native Americans of that area gifting these seeds to the first white child born in the area in the 1600s. So for at least 400 years, these seeds have been grown and saved and then shared, such that they're still here. And we are eating foods that we can share with the foods with people who have loved this bean for at least 400 years. So for 15 generations, no one has dropped this baby on its head, and it's been passed down from generation to generation. It's a plump kidney bean. It's very colorful. You can see here, it's red and white, reddish brown specks, and it's said to look like the Hereford cattle. So as I said, they're easy to grow and save. They're self-pollinating, which reduces concerns about cross-pollination that you get with many other seeds. There are 5 families, basically, if you're growing, or 4 that are reliable: your beans, your peas, your lettuce, and tomatoes are very easy to grow and save. And also the Jacob cattle bean is a dual duty bean, meaning that you can eat it green or dry. And many folks don't want to grow dry beans. They think that they're cheap and easy to find at the store. But if you have not tried homegrown dried beans, you are in for a real treat. Thank you. Ben?
Biodiversity. Let's talk about biodiversity. Now, as seed savers, or future soon-to-be seed savers, we all come to understand the importance of biodiversity. Let's have an example, maybe if we look at a seed catalog and we can see all of the varieties, so much diversity in the seed catalog to choose from, and then compare that to the limited selection in our grocery store. We can automatically see the difference in what we're able to accomplish in our own gardens at home. As seed savers, gardeners, local food advocates, we come to understand the significance of that biodiversity. And when we save our seeds, we do our part to preserve that biodiversity, not only to have a wide variety of selections on our dinner tables, but also to maintain that germplasm for future breeding projects, right? So we can create, say, the heirlooms of tomorrow. Saving and sharing our seeds allows us to do just that. You know, when we save and share our seeds, we also understand the importance of local adaptation. As these seeds adapt and change to the way that we grow them and our microclimates, the changes in the overall climate, these plants adapt and become better versions of themselves, providing us with more nutritious and delicious food. This is an important aspect of saving our seeds. Now, if we were to look at, say, an indigenous population, all indigenous populations that were involved in agriculture, even long ago, they did all of these things, and they didn't necessarily use the same terminology. They didn't maybe talk about biodiversity specifically. Their ultimate end goal was creating and maintaining healthy, nutritious food, ensuring food security. And where we're at right now in the world, we're coming to realize the importance, once again, It's almost like another awakening where we see food security as the ultimate end goal of all of our endeavors. And through saving our seeds, saving and sharing our seeds amongst our communities, we ensure that food security. As a seed seller, like I mentioned earlier, I found that we've sold seeds unlike ever before. In the last 3 months, we've sold more seeds online than we've sold in the last 3 years combined. And I'm not alone in this. Seed companies that I work with and familiar with, we've all suffered from the same problem. Short-staffed, orders on like ever before. And while it's great to see that desire to have these seeds and to grow these seeds, there's a limited supply commercially. And people can be afraid of that scarcity, but in reality, nature's not scarce, nature's abundant. And in every seed is the abundance of all the seeds that will come from that one seed. And it's by saving these seeds and passing them on that we realize nature's abundance. And we preserve that biodiversity, and we ensure healthy, nutritious food for ourselves and for all the generations that come after us. And that's why I save seeds, and that's why I encourage all of you to save seeds as well. Jeff?
Hi, okay, I was just answering a question. So, okay, so when we talk about biodiversity and we talk about saving seeds, how do we use that how does that apply to communities? The three of us all have our approaches to how we organize and create these community-based projects. With mine, I've done with seed libraries. And what I found here in South Jersey was when I started this project in 2014, people loved the idea of getting seeds and learning about foods that they didn't know about. But the challenge was they didn't want to save seeds. So what happened was through a random email, I got a question about a Jersey tomato. Now, if you live in Jersey, you know, it's a real Jersey thing. We have a lot of pride here, and we will tell you that we grow the best tasting tomatoes in the world. And being a tomato guy like I am, this is a hill that I'm willing to die on. So when I got and being into heirloom foods and being into seeds, Jersey tomatoes have become a focus of my work. So I have an authentic Jersey tomato seed collection that's connected to my library seed bank project. And I get a lot of traffic to that from the web, from So I got this random email from someone asking about a tomato that their grandfather had bred in Gloucester County here in New Jersey. And she was looking for some information about it. And she was looking for seeds for it because she wanted to share her family's farming legacy with her daughter in the garden, which is just a beautiful thought. I mean, this is one of the many reasons why it's important to save seeds, you know, carrying on the tradition and, you know, the legacy of what people do about food. So I got this, found out this the name of this tomato was Hillie number 7. So I did a search and I found the one commercial seed source available was the Sand Hill Preservation Farm in Iowa, and they had this seed. And I was really excited because now I can get back to this contact and let her know that I found the seed that she was looking for. So in the course of the conversation, I found out that her grandfather, Willard Bronson Keeley, was this amazing farmer. He got a National Farming Award in 1925, and that she would send me a copy of the article about him. So the article comes in the mail, and I'm reading through this, and he was involved in the community. He was doing all this work with multiple sources of income on his farm to make it work for him. Really smart guy, really knew what he was talking about with farming. And the photo that was in this article was from when he received his award. And the award was given to him in New York City, and Franklin Delano Roosevelt was the governor of New York at that time, and he's the one who gave the award. And I'm looking at this and I'm thinking to myself, there's got to be more to this than just this, because, you know, being an artist, I'm always looking for symbolism. I work with symbolism and things like that. So I went to the local historical society, the Gloucester County Historical Society, and started doing some preliminary research. And I found an article from 2005 that mentioned Willard Bronson Keeley and his Hillie number 7 tomato, and how it was a significant tomato locally and somewhat nationally in the 60s. And I was thinking, okay, I'm really on to something here. So doing the type of work that I do with the Arc of Taste by identifying these lost foods or foods that are threatened or endangered with extinction and documenting them, the first thing that came to my mind was that I needed to get this tomato declared a Gloucester County original heirloom from the freeholders. I needed to get a proclamation about this. So I went to the mayor of one of the town where one of my seed banks are in Woodbury, and she connected me with the freeholders, and they were quite interesting to work with. They're a great group of people. And they explained the whole proclamation process to me, and they told me that we don't do proclamations for tomatoes, Jeff, we do them for people. And I thought to myself, yeah, but you know, this is a pretty significant thing. And they offered me the opportunity to provide them with the history that I can find, and they would take it from there. And what I was able to do was I was able to get 17 pages of information from the Historical Society about Lord Bronson Killy and his tomato farm and what he had did. And during the course of that, I saw that he was recognized at the state level as well. And they did issue the proclamation recognizing Willard and declaring the Killy No. 7 an original Gloucester County heirloom, which was great. So once I did that, I used seed libraries to do a controlled grow out, because remember, we've only had one commercial source of seed, and I wanted to bring the Killy No. 7 back to her home soil. So we were able to recruit growers through the seed libraries, and it really generated a lot of interest. And in 2019, we had an event where the proclamation was read, because that was important for the freeholders to do. And the growing program started. And by the end of 2017, we ended up with this many seeds of the Killy No. 7. So going forward, the Killy No. 7 will never leave Gloucester County or New Jersey again, thanks to the efforts of the people who grew the tomato, and thanks to the fact that seed libraries exist here and exist around other parts of the country. And what I found was that, you know, tying into this local pride of a Jersey tomato, especially one in the county where people were living and growing their own tomatoes, it really sparked a lot of interest. So from there, what I'm going to do is in 2020, the Gloucester County Library System was coming online with adding seed libraries to their programming. And there's also in Swedesboro, which is in Gloucester County, Burpee had a 77-acre experimental farm where they trialed a lot of their vegetables. And I do have access to the actual seed journals from that time. So we're going to take the information from those seed journals and use them, use them to bring those seeds back to the Swedesboro area. And there's a branch of the library in Swedesboro. So there's a good connection there, and we're going to explore the other seed companies that had experimental farms here in South Jersey and do the same type of thing with that. And just as one more point here, in Burlington County, I work with the county government and Rowan College of Burlington County and the Burlington County Lyceum and Science History Museum. We're going to explore what was going on with the Johnson and Stokes Seed Company there, and also Stowell's Evergreen Corn, which is an Arc of Taste entry. This year we were looking at laying the groundwork for a Presidia, which is one of the projects with the Foundation of Biodiversity in slow food. And a Presidia is basically a producer's co-op of Arc of Taste entry. So we're looking to pull together the community partners and bring Stowell's Evergreen Corn back to Burlington County to look at starting a Presidia. We were going to work with the Burlington County Agricultural Center, where they have a farm market and a commercial kitchen. Rowan College at Burlington County has a culinary program, an environmental program, and the students are very excited about having a seed library there. And the Lyceum is a science history museum with a climate control room where they store their manuscripts, and that's where we were going to store seeds. We were talking to approaching some business people about looking at this as a product for them to develop, but COVID-19 knocked all that out, but we're going to be pursuing that in 2021. So there's lots of opportunities there for, if you have a local agricultural history, to use seed libraries to engage the public, because what it does is it really gives them a vested interest, because it's their history and it's where they live. Hillie?
I'll tell you about my project, One Seed, One Community. It's about a shared experience growing nutritious food and saving seeds. It's based on the library Read One Book program, where they encourage the community to read one book and engage in programs based around the theme. So One Seed, One Community encourages everybody to save this one seed. Most gardeners' gene pools are usually no bigger than the palm of their hand, the size of your seed packet. And that's a very small gene pool. But together, we can save a greater amount of diversity. And more seed savers means more diversity. And generally, we recognize that greater diversity allows for some individuals who may survive adversity. So the more diversity, the better our investment is in our future. And this will be great. This will be helpful as we go forward in climate change. So One Seed, One Community invites everyone to save a row for diversity. Similar to Grow a Row for the Hungry, when you save seed and donate it to a seed library, you make access for first-time, low-income, community gardeners. All gardeners will have access to fresh and local seed every year. So this year, we're inviting everyone to grow the Jacob's cattle bean, and to invite you to grow, eat, and share these with your friends, neighbors, and your local seed library. So One Seed, One Community is a community grow-along. Seeds are made available, and as the University of California Master Gardener, I put together a timely email that talks about what's going on in the garden and how to grow and save the beans. The impetus for Save a Row for Diversity was researched by Daniel Saleri, a researcher at UC Santa Barbara, who surveyed all the seed libraries in California and found that on average, there was only about a 7% return for seed libraries. It's not very sustainable. So Save a Row is about engaging the community to save and share seeds, especially to support seed libraries. The basic idea of seed libraries is the sharing and returning of seeds, so that we do have those fresh local seeds available for the community. The big idea is preserving diversity, which we talked about, and adaptation. So as we save these seeds over time and we save them and share them, an adaptation may occur. So seeds that are adapted tend to need fewer inputs, such as fertilizers and pesticides that lead to our dirty airs and water. In addition, studies have found that the genetic makeup of the common bean population can be influenced by the growing environment within as little as 3 growing seasons. So our seed libraries help us build a diverse, local adapted seed stock. And when we have these seeds, they're special, they're unique, and they aren't going to be found anywhere else in the world. So our researchers find that community seed banks are repositories of local genetic diversity that is often adapted to prevailing climate conditions and may be useful to contribute to community-based strategies for adaptation to climate change. Also, they're recognizing that urban gardeners are important keepers of biodiversity. The scientific community is starting to recognize the biogenetic diversity found within the home garden versus what you find in the same space of a commercial agricultural venture. Home gardens are natural harbors of diversity. They can offer genetic diversity we need for the future. Your seeds, could be the ones that save our future. You can learn more about seed libraries at seedlibraries.net, and there you can find more information about One Seed, One Community under their special projects page. So local food begins with local seed. Seed, the local revolution. Okay, Ben.
Community is really the cornerstone of everything that we do, not just as seed savers, but any good work starts with seeds. Activists, local food enthusiasts, farmers, slow food members, whatever it may be. We understand that literally the heart of what we do is community. And saving and sharing our seeds is how we build that community from the foundation up, from the soil up. Now with our work, we've put together a seed swap here in Michigan, the Central Michigan Seed Swap, which last year, this last February, it seems like a long time ago, but I guess that was just a few months ago. A lot has happened since then. We had 700 people show up, and we had locals come and folks from across the state, folks from other states come, and it becomes a central meeting place for all of these people from all these different experiences and all these different places to gather and share our commonalities. We share our seeds and our stories, and we sing songs. And the fellowship of mankind happens right there at the seed swap. There's nothing more powerful than the community building that happens when we focus on our commonalities. In this case, our love of local food. Through the Michigan Seed Library project that we've mentioned, it's a loose fitting network of 73 seed libraries. And we traveled to Santa Rosa to the Heirloom Expo and participated in the Seed Librarian Summit. And we were so inspired by the One Seed, One Community that we decided to bring that idea back home. And some of our great volunteers, including a friend of mine, Pam Quackenbush, really spearheaded the One Seed, One State program. And to be able to get everybody together to grow one seed, to share that seed and to share that common experience, really creates that community that we all strive for to ensure the food security that we need in the future. But I'm not going to spend much more time talking about that. I think that we need to move forward into learning how to save our seeds. I think everybody here knows why we save our seeds, but let's talk about how we save our seeds, Jeff.
Okay, yeah, that's good, Ben. Well, the first thing, what I want to do is I want to talk about planning to save seeds. And the most important thing that you need to know about saving seeds is the type of seed to save. Open pollinated seeds are seeds that are the type that you want to save. And what open pollinated means is that the seeds are true to type. If you take a seed from a Cherokee purple tomato and you plant it, you will get a Cherokee purple tomato. And you can save those seeds, and for generations after that, you will get a Cherokee purple. What the difference is between that and, say, a hybrid seed is the type of seed that you can't save. A hybrid is a cross of one of 2, 3, or 4 types of plants. And if you try to save that seed, what's going to happen is you're going to get either one of the parents or something in between. And the genes in a hybrid haven't been stabilized enough to get the true to type that you would get with an open pollinated seed. So when you start looking to plan your garden and you want to save seeds, you want to purchase seeds that are either open pollinated or heirloom seeds. When you go to a seed library, seeds are generally donated by seed companies. So there are chances that what you're getting from a seed library may not be, may be a hybrid. So it's important to know that when you're checking your seeds out at the library, what kind of seeds that you're getting, so that you can save the seed, the open pollinated type. There are seeds that are known as selfers that are self-pollinated, and if you're just starting out with saving seeds, start with them. And selfers are tomatoes, lettuce, beans, peas, and you'll see some folks claim that peppers are, but there's some debate about that. But if you start with tomatoes, beans, peas, and lettuce, then you know that you're getting self-pollinated. And what that means is when the flower opens to create the fruit or to create the seed, it's already pollinated and you don't have to worry about cross-pollination. Cross-pollination is a issue where, not an issue, but it's something that we can really get into the weeds about. And that can be a whole nother webinar in itself. And there are techniques out there. And if there's people who are interested in this, you know, you can follow up with any one of us. We can help you out with that. But I'm going to just keep this focused on, at least for the planning part of this, to talk about open pollinated and focusing on sulfurs. And then we're going to move on to the dry process and the wet process to show you what the process of saving seeds is about. Hillie?
Yeah, dry seeds. And Ben's going to talk about wet seeds. So dry seeds are usually those that come in a pod of some sort. I have a number of seeds we can see here. This is, I don't know if you can see that these are actually broccoli seeds. And so when you have seeds, dry seeds, it's best to let them stay on the vine to dry. You want to leave them there as long as possible if you can. If you need the space or it's going to rain, if most of the pods are dry, more pods are dry than not, then you can pull up the whole thing and take it somewhere else to dry. Things that help you know whether your seeds are ready to be harvested. You can, sometimes there's a color change in the seed. It often may darken some. And also how easily it detaches from the stalk. If it attaches easily, it's probably quite ready. You harvest them then, and then after you do that, you probably want to wait a couple of weeks for them to dry a little further. And then you want to make sure that they're very dry before you store them, which Ben will talk about. Now, if you have a big bean, like a bean, yeah, big seed like a bean, you could take a hammer to it, and if it shatters, then we know that it's dry. If it kind of smooshes, you need to let it dry a little longer. Seeds like, see if you can see here, the this is a melon seed or squash, and if it snaps in half, then it's dry. If it's still bendy, you might want to wait a little longer. And then you can harvest by hand. If you have a smaller harvest, it might be cleaner or easier just to pick pods. I have here, we have some, these are peas. You could just open them up, see, and harvest them. Let's see. Bags, if you have a small harvest, bags are really good to store them in temporarily, or and then also I find things like sheets. If you have an old sheet, you can gather up. Let's see here, it doesn't fall, my improvisations. So for example, this is the broccoli. I've laid it down in this sheet. Pillowcases are also good for this. You can wrap it up and then just squish it, and then you can harvest it. And from there, I don't know if you can see, you can use screens. They have fancy screens like this that you can use and order, and also I've seen instructions for building these. Or you can just as easily use your colander from your kitchen. There's probably lots of devices there that will be helpful for you to do that. And see some other seeds. This is, we have the, this is a red mustard seed. So you can just shear these off into some containers. For example, we have, these are the yellow Indian woman beans. In a pillowcase or here, and you can see they all fall out. And then you can clean them further with the screens. If you're having a little bit of chaff, you know, really fine powder, you can use a fan to help blow that. That's definitely something that would be best as an outside activity. You can set up your fan and a number of containers so that as it blows, heavier stuff will fall earlier and you'll be able to collect it. And that's basically dried. Wet seeds.
All right. So what's going to define the difference between a wet seed and a dry seed is the environment that the seed is in when it's mature and ready to be harvested. A wet seed is typically inside of a fruit, as you can see here, inside of the moist flesh, right? So the key, I guess, when you're going to get started harvesting seeds from a wet fruit is making sure that your fruits are actually ripe. That seems to be an issue. A lot of the times here in the States, we eat a lot of fruits at their immature stage. We eat a lot of things when they're underripe, like this acorn squash I like to use as an example. We typically buy them when they're green like this. We'll pick them from our gardens when they're green like this to enjoy them. But this is an immature fruit. And you're not going to get nearly as many viable seeds out of this as if you would let this mature to a nice orange color. There's a lot of fruits that we eat that way. Off the top of my head, I'll think of zucchinis. Summer squashes are immature fruits, cucumbers, things of that nature. So we want to make sure that we understand the foods that we're growing and consuming. We want to develop that relationship with our foods so we know when they're ripe, so we know when the seeds are ready to ensure we're going to get more viable seed, right? Now, a tomato, on the other hand, when we eat it, it's ripe. It's ready to go, and it's going to be full of seeds. Now, we only have a limited amount of time here, and I want to get to some of these Q&As because there's a lot of great questions. But I'm going to literally show you how easy it is to harvest seeds from your tomatoes. Are you ready for this? All right, so I've got my ripe tomato. We're going to cut it open at the equator, right? Not the stem end or the blossom end, but right down the middle, like that. At the equator. That gives us access to all of the chambers, so we can see inside there, and you can see all of the seeds inside of here, right? All right. Now we're going to get ourselves a container like this. We're going to use a mason jar in this case. You can use any kind of container that you got. We do it on a large scale. We do buckets and such. Anyway, so we're going to remove the seeds from the flesh. You can just squeeze it out just like this. Squeeze out all these guts, or you can just scoop them out with a spoon. Now, with a lot of our fruits that we're going to harvest our seeds from, we're just going to remove the seeds, extract them from the flesh, rinse them out on a screen similar to what Hillie showed us, and leave them out to dry. But tomatoes, they need an extra step. We're actually going to ferment these tomatoes. It's going to break down that jelly coating that's in there. There's growth inhibitor chemicals specifically designed to slow the germination rates of these seeds down. So we're going to ferment these guys. Essentially, we're going to make them rot. So you get the seeds out into your jar like this. You're going to add a little bit of water to them. Yeah, just a little bit, right? Then you're going to cover it up with some saran wrap or something. Cheesecloth is good if you've got that, but saran wrap works just fine. We're going to cover this guy just like that, because as this ferments, it's going to draw all the fruit flies in the neighborhood that come into your house, right? So if you saran wrap, poke some holes in it like this, it's going to let the gas escape while this ferments. Now we're going to let this sit in a sunny place, maybe on a windowsill or so for 3-4 days on average. It depends on the sugar content of the tomato variety and heat and humidity of the room. So there's some variables, but you'll be able to see a white scum will start to build up at the top here. I call it the funk. And once you see the funk, you know that your seeds are properly fermented, right? So then once that happens, you're going to add a little bit more water to them. And give them a good stir. And you'd be able to see the separation right here. And to the top is going to be the funk and the immature seeds and the growth inhibitor chemicals and any diseases and any undesirables float to the top. And all the good, viable seeds are going to sink right to the bottom of the jar. So then you're going to pour it off into a strainer. Something like this is going to work really well. A little guy like this is perfect for home use. You're going to pour your seeds into that, and then you're going to put them out to dry. The screens that Hillie showed us are really good for that, but I like to use paper plates. Paper plates work really well, specifically because I can label my paper plates. Labels are important with seed saving. Every step of the way, you want to make sure your stuff is labeled. Labeling is key, right? I like to think I'm going to remember, but I'm not going to. I will even write right on my tomatoes sometimes what they are. It's important to stay labeled. Leave your seeds out to dry 7 to 10 days. Once you think your seeds are dry, let them sit a few more days, right? Just because they feel dry to the touch or may look dry to the eye doesn't mean that they're all the way dry on the inside. And if you package your seeds away before they're dry, they're going to mold. If you put your seeds in the freezer before they're dry, the water's going to expand and crack the embryo. It's going to wreck your seeds. So at this last step, we put a lot of work into saving our seeds here. We just want to relax, take some time, make sure we wait until our seeds are good and dry. Once your seeds are good and dry, we're going to want to package them up. You can use a number of containers. We use mason jars a lot here at Small House to store our seeds in. These work really, really well. For smaller seeds, you can use coin envelopes, are fantastic. Little Ziploc bags might work. When you go to your seed library, you're going to notice a lot of your seeds are coming from a coin envelope like this. And that's perfectly fine for short-term storage until next year's garden. No problem at all. You're going to want to keep your seeds in a cool, dark, dry place. That's the key. Cool, dark, and dry. So in a closet, in a shoebox, in a back room, in a non-heated place, you want to make sure they stay at a nice regulated temperature. If you've got a refrigerator that you don't use very often, you can put them in there. Long-term storage, freezer is key. You put seeds in the freezer, properly packaged seeds in the freezer, they're going to last longer than all of us. So whatever your needs may be and the resources that you have is going to be the best way to store your seeds. But cool, dark, and dry is absolutely key. So that's a quick breakdown on that. So I think we should move into the Q&A. There's a ton of sweet questions here, and I'd like to see if we can answer all of them. That's just how easy it is, though, folks, to save seeds from tomatoes. So this is the year to do it if you've never done it. Start saving some tomato seeds.
Excellent. Thank you guys so much. So much great information and so many things to take note of, and yes, lots of questions. So let's work together. I know that Jeff, you're taking a look at those questions. I want to check in with you to see if anything sort of comes to mind or floats to the top for you for important questions to answer. They all are important, of course. But I'm going to start at the top for now. Sorry. Somebody asked if it's the right time of year to start planting the seeds in the Plant a Seed kit. It depends where you are. I see that you're in Northern California. Some of those will be a little late. Some of them you can hold on to for next year. So this is something I might ask the three of you to talk about. If I have a seed packet that's not going in the ground this year, what's the best way to hang on to it for next year? And then a question about the white Sonora wheat. So this process of saving a wheat seed is slightly different. And can you talk about the difference between that and what you've just shared with us?
Different how?
Is it different? Is it different? So like, what's the difference between saving a tomato seed or saving a wheat seed? And
I can answer this one if you'd like.
Right.
So wheat seeds, we grow wheat here at Small House. And it's important to know, I mean, wheat grain is the foundation of any local food system. So the fact that wheat seeds are coming out with the Plant a Seed kit is really awesome, because that's a very important thing. Wheat seeds would be handled as dry seeds, like Hillie explained to us how to harvest our dry seeds. So a wheat, you're going to leave until it's nice and mature. Literally at the stage that you would harvest your wheat for consumption is the exact same stage that we'd harvest our wheat for seed saving. And the process is exactly the same. We're going to want to thresh that wheat to remove the seed from the chaff and the rest of the plant material. We can winnow it out using screens or fans, and then package it up in something to keep it dry. Many of those grains, dry corns, wheats, and those things, the product that we're harvesting for food is the exact same product that we're harvesting for seed, and the process is exactly the same.
Excellent, thank you. And we have some
also, I was gonna say, as far as planting, this, for most places, I think at this time, it's probably a prime planting time. Basically, when your nighttime temperatures aren't dropping below 50 degrees, it's probably okay to start. As far as saving for next year, as Ben said, keep it in a cool, dry place. It doesn't necessarily have to be the refrigerator or the freezer. For 1 year, it's probably fine to just tuck away in, like I said, a well-regulated temperature place.
Perfect, thank you. Yeah, I'm in the Pacific Northwest, so like my kit is, I mean, I did start those tomatoes several weeks ago so that I could put starts in the ground. It's kind of perfect time for beans. It's the perfect time for the squash, and there's several things in there that's the right timing. And you can go online, the Plant a Seed page that we put in here, I'll put it in here again. There is another page for each of the varieties, and it will give you a little bit of information about growing them if you'd like to know a little more. One question, I'm going to put two of these questions together, and that is essentially, how long can we keep the seeds? And if I have a seed collection, so Elena has asked about something that was passed on to her that is possibly about 7 years old, a seed collection. How long can we keep them? How viable might they be? What sort of environment or circumstances might let Elena know that they are still viable? Would you try them anyways if they're old? Maybe you can talk about the timing and longevity of that.
I would, it's very possible that they are too old, but many seeds, I had, a woman passed away who was a very avid seed saver of lettuce, and I was able to grow some even though the packet had been labeled 1995. Now, most don't. And also just because they come up doesn't necessarily have vitality. But if they were gifted, I think it would be worth trying them out and seeing what grows and doing your best to save those.
Oh my gosh, I'm going to jump in and say absolutely plant those seeds. 7 years is kind of a long time for seeds to be stored, but if they were stored well, they could very well be viable. So the rule of thumb in a way is the larger the seed, the longer it'll keep. And larger seeds like beans, large squash, corn, and things like that, if they're stored well, they'll keep 8 to 10 years, and you'll still be able to grow them. So it's important to always do germ tests on your stuff. I've seen some questions come up about that as well. A germination test, really the easiest way to do that, and we're going to really simplify this for time, is take some of your seeds. I like to do it in quantities of 10 because it's easier to do math at that point. So take 10, 100 seeds, whatever it is, put them inside of a moist paper towel, hold them up inside of a moist paper towel, put them inside of a Ziploc bag, and close it up like a little greenhouse, and put it on top of your refrigerator, because the refrigerator is going to generate some heat. And periodically check on your seeds, and you'll be able to see how many start to sprout in there. And because we did it in tens, it'll be easy to see the percentage of germination rate that we get there. But especially a gifted seed like that, absolutely try planting those. That's a very special thing.
Thank you. Yes, it seems like you might as well, right? I mean, they're either going to grow or they're not, and get them in the ground and give them a chance. I appreciate that Elena was looking to sort of respect and honor that collection as much as possible, and trying to get them growing seems like a good way to do that. And Ben, you also answered another question, which is essentially kind of what is the germination rate we can expect, which is, I think there isn't a specific one to expect. Not all your seeds will germinate. That's true of a seed packet you buy from anyone. They just are not 100% viable. Is that right?
That's correct. Now, when you buy seeds commercially, there's federal regulations on the germination rate that they have to meet to be able to be sold. And it's sometimes even labeled on the packet, but it's never 100%. And even with nature, if you think about the way that the Mother Nature handles seeds, the reason that she produces such an abundance of seeds is because we know that we're not going to get 100% germination, and that kind of hedges our bets. To ensure the survival of the plant for another generation. So while it's not 100% germination, it's usually pretty good, especially from seeds that you're purchasing, or if you're getting from your local seed library. Seed librarians are dedicated. They do a great job to make sure that they're dispersing quality seeds. So that's always a great resource for getting good seeds.
It's also, if you're at a certain point, if there's germination, I don't know, maybe Ben, you know better about, if it's like less than, I don't know, 50, 60% or 70, that you're looking at, poor crop. But if you, let's say your germination is only 50%, you could double the planting to make sure that maybe you get what you need from your numbers.
And also, if your seeds are old, just be patient with them. They can take a little bit longer than what you're more accustomed to doing. I just ran into that this year. Actually, I had some tomato seeds that were about 7 years old that I was hoping that I can germinate, and it's taken them a month to 5 weeks for tomato seeds to actually germinate. So I'm glad that they are germinating, and they're taking their good old sweet time to do it. So just have some patience with it and don't give up on them.
Excellent. I'm going to ask one question, and I recognize that we're just 2 minutes shy of the hour, and I want to honor our panelists' time, and so we'll continue with questions if you three are okay with staying with us. If you need to take off right now, since we've reached the end of the hour, this is being recorded, and we will post it online and send everyone a link so that you can refer back or maybe jump in for these last few minutes of questions if you need to take off. And we'll include all the links to keep up with these three and what they're doing and the resources that they have on websites and so on. One question I wanted to ask is the container that you put your seeds in, does that have an effect on the seeds themselves? So somebody used a pickle jar and noticed that the seeds kind of smelled like pickles and that they didn't germinate. So can you talk a little bit about that container? Does it have an effect? What's the best practice? I know that Ben, you showed the envelopes and such, and what might we be able to use that we have at home?
Okay, so as far as the pickle jar, I guess I'm not 100% sure on that, but potentially the vinegar, that may have been the residue of the vinegar that was in that jar may have had an effect on the seeds, most certainly. But reusing jars at home, I highly recommend repurposing everything that you can. Now, there's some limitations to certain things that you're going to do. Now, these coin envelopes that I showed, they're certainly not waterproof. So if you were outside in the rain or there's some sort of situation like that, that's going to affect your seeds. And now Ziploc bags are waterproof, but they also have an ability to build up condensation on the inside, which are going to get your seeds moist as well. So they're limited. They work in a pinch, but I always recommend a good mason jar of some sort, something that you can create a nice airtight seal. Some folks even like to put those silica packets in there. You can purchase those online for relatively inexpensive to help wick away any additional moisture that you might have an issue with. But airtight is key, especially if you're going to store your seeds in a refrigerator or a freezer, because it is kind of a moist environment. You want to make sure that they're packaged up real nice so that moisture doesn't affect the seed at all.
Excellent, thank you. And one question about where we should dry the seeds: in the sun, inside your home. Risha is in the tropics and she's asking this question. So I imagine that humidity comes into play and moisture, as you've mentioned. What sort of environment are we looking for as the ideal environment to dry them?
I was at somewhere with low moisture, but we don't want to leave our seeds in the direct sun. After about 90 degrees, it starts to impair the seed, and so most places with low humidity, which sounds tough for her, maybe it's more inside than outside's okay if you're having but not in the direct sun.
I would also recommend some airflow is going to be very important. A small fan of some sort to keep the air moving across those seeds. Not only is that going to help keep the humidity down, it's going to help dry those seeds down a little bit faster so she can get them put away. We use fans quite often of different sizes depending upon the seeds, from the small little desktop to a larger fan in the hoop house, depending on what it is. But that airflow is very important to help keep those seeds dry and dry them down faster.
Great, thank you. And one last question. I'm sorry that we won't get to all the questions. Thank you for asking your questions and being so engaged. That's really wonderful. We won't get to all of them, but we can give the websites and Ben's book, and we'll offer more resources so you can learn more about seed saving in that follow-up email. And to honor your time and let you all go at a reasonable hour, I'm just going to end with one question, which is I lost it. If you can talk a little bit about how you database your seed banks and seed libraries, like how are you keeping track and making sure that everything is sort of accounted for?
Well, in the libraries that I work with here in New Jersey, excuse me, they don't inventory them like they do with books. One of the challenges that we came up with when I first started doing this was because the libraries that they have limited budget and limited staff, and they use barcodes around here for all of their media, they didn't want to start barcoding the seed packages as well. So what they do is they keep manual lists. It's just a very simple spreadsheet that they keep at the front desk, because all of the seeds that are distributed are kept at circulation desks. They're not kept out in the open area for the public to access. So as seeds are taken out, they keep track on a spreadsheet.
I'm going to echo that. We use a lot of spreadsheets now. In the Michigan Seed Library Network, every library works independently and works with the system that's best for them. Some of them have developed barcode systems and scan the seeds just as they would scan books, and it really helps create a great database for us to reflect back on at the end of the year. But a spreadsheet is what we use here at the farm, which can be cumbersome sometimes to maintain. So there's definitely challenges to it, and we're always looking ways to fine tune it. But it's probably the most effective way for us to keep track of our seeds because they're constantly in motion. They're coming out of the seed bank and being distributed, preferably nonstop. You know, the greatest seed bank is in the ground. If we continue to keep the seeds in the soil where they belong, it's going to be far more beneficial than keeping them in a box in the back room.
Excellent. Thank you all so much. I'm sorry if we didn't get to your questions. This is a really big topic, and so maybe we can follow up later in the season or something like that when we're harvesting fruit and saving the seeds and out in the field. So we'll keep in touch with these three. And thank you so much for being here today, guys, and for your time and energy and for sharing your great wisdom with us. We will follow up with all of you in an email, and we appreciate you being a part of this. If you want to get a plant to seed kit online today, use the code SLOWFOODLIVE, all one word, for free shipping. And we will send those out until we're all out, which we're getting a little close to. So if that's something you want, jump on in and grab one. Thanks again, you guys, for being here. It's really wonderful to have you, and we really appreciate you coming and joining us today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Great.
All right, everyone, take care.
Bye.
Be safe.
Bye.
Happy
Bye.
growing.